I'm going to do a vlog on the soul sickness, and I'm going to try to move quick because there's a lot of concepts and stuff here, and it's kind of, I've been doing them on hard-fought, hard-won information that's really affected my life. And so, you know, I've talked some about the 12 steps and stuff like that, and I'm not really a big 12-step person. There's tons of spiritual programs in the world, and I've had a lot of problems in my life. And but there's there's Buddha and Gandhi and you know, the Bible and the Quran, all these spiritual programs and concepts. Not a big proponent of any one. I like to draw the best from each of them and utilize what works, throw the rest away. Don't believe it until I, really tested it. Anyway, all of these spiritual theories are really just trying to get you to be in a sort of, I don't discount anything or throw it away without sort of studying it, looking at, trying it sometimes. But they're all trying to get you to be in a balance, in a harmony. And people who have addictions and problems like that, the soul sickness, really we're just out of balance with a lot of stuff, a lot of issues. And the thing about that is that there's really, after you've been around recovery, as I have for a long, long time, and then, I went out and drank and used again, and drugs and alcohol and stuff. So I've had problems with it my whole life, and, been sober a long time, then used again. But one thing that you figure out after a while is that, oh wow, all of these disorders, drinking, drugs, gambling, or addictions, sex, pornography, anything that gets in the way of you sort of having a balance in your life. The addictions I'll stick with for now. Those are all really issues of sort of balance, and they're also, it doesn't matter which one you have. They're part of sort of a hole in your soul type thing that you're trying to fill with external stuff. And I eating disorders, stuff like that, and there's a whole lot of stuff, and I'm going to miss some stuff here. But I had to sort of banish and block a young woman who's followed me pretty closely for a while this morning. And it's kind of like, it started out as neat and fun, and she has an eating disorder, and followed me really closely, admittedly in an obsession with me and my music and website and stuff. And I knew the dangers up top. I've been in many institutions, and I've had eating disorders and alcoholism and drug addiction. I've been in many psychiatric and other regular hospitals, and both at the same time for those things. And so I know the whole, the histology, the etiology of the thing and how it works. And when I first friended her, I thought, I should stay at a distance on this because she's really, as I am, really messed up, and I could possibly, harm her more. And she said she was in an obsession, but I did. And then over the last 6 weeks or so, we've had some fun loving sort of ribbing. She speaks another language and stuff, and across the internet, and that was cool. But then it became obviously abusive about 6 weeks ago, and then more abusive, then super abusive. And a lot of times, I know I have a real talent for picking the weaknesses of people at a distance from looking at their material, their writings, their music, their vlogs, and tearing them down. And so she began to kind of tear me down. And when it first began to happen, I was like, okay, you're kind of pushing it there. You're over the line of like joking into sort of personal attacks, and the difference. You know very well what you're doing. She was testing, like a child, testing the limits of what I would accept, trying to get my attention. And I'm really perceptive with people's writings and their vlogs and things and music and stuff, and I can I've had some training to be able to pull those things out. So, but I'm tolerant too, so I let it go a while, and then it just became worse and worse. But really, what all these spiritual programs are trying to teach you to do, and might throw in a story or an experience of mine, I don't know, to drive this home. They're trying to teach you to recognize, and I don't go with any single one of them. I think I've gone with AA a few times in my vlogs and stuff because it's the most accessible to non-religious people who are looking for some kind of spiritual thing, but you need to grow beyond any one program and sort of embrace the best of them all, you know. And they're all basically doing the same thing, and that is they're trying to teach you how to lead your life where you're not constantly doing stuff where you have to, you know, backtrack, look and look over your shoulder and doing embarrassing stuff and dishonorable stuff. They're trying, you know, also on that tact, they're also trying to sort of teach you about your own, and I have many character flaws. They're trying to teach you about your character flaws and how they don't serve your overall goal in life, which is harmony and happiness. And you know, what had happened with this girl is she was so needy, and I understand that. I've taken from hospitals a few women home, and I've had an eating disorder, and I've had addiction, severe, like psych hospital, like strapped down to bed, shot up with God only knows what kind of thing, and beaten, you know, by police and guards, and when you're at your weak, you know, I've just had a horrible thing with it, and so I know a lot about it from experience and also from training and education. And you know, I mean, there's a couple of stories. One is a lot of my relationships were fucked up from the very beginning because I chose poorly. I chose someone like that. And in such a case, you have no one to blame but yourself in such a case as that, you know. And I always try to come from a place of love and kindness and understanding. But, you know, even in a marriage or a relationship, there has to be a limit. You sort of agree in a marriage and a relationship, like, oh, well, I will take as much shit, pardon my French, this is supposedly a non-cursing vlog, I will take as much shit, well, not non-cursing, but not as much, as this woman will dish out because I love her overall. And then that sort of takes on the tone, that's one of your agreements. I will take all the garbage she can spit out, basically, because you kind of get to know her and you go, well, she doesn't spit out that much garbage. Some do, you know, it just depends. And that's like an agreement you make. But when you're coming from a place of love, and I try to and do a lot in all of my dealings with other people especially, and myself, you have to set a limit on how much when it becomes abusive. And with me, with abuse from other people, you know, it's like, I say to myself on occasion number one, I don't give warnings anymore. I'm just like, you know what, if you don't respect yourself enough to respect me and know that this is just not something you say to someone else or call into question, then you might not want to be, you might not be a person I want as a friend. And after 3 instances, I will cut the person off completely, never to return. They will never be in my circle again. Because, you know, I hate going back and forth on those things. It's like I set a boundary and a limit with you last week, and I clearly said don't do this, and here you are 2 weeks later doing it again. So, you know, that gets really old, and at a certain age, you know, it does. So, you know, anyway, to come from a place of love and sort of realize, you know, meaning like if somebody is sort of abusive, going, well, yeah, but I understand the source. That's one thing. But then when they become really abusive repeatedly, to love yourself, you have to set a boundary. And a lot, you know, the thing that these religious or 12-step or spiritual programs, they're all really saying the same thing, and that is recognize your own character flaws and learn how to not use them in such a way that they torpedo everything you're about and you're doing, that they don't serve you well in your life. And so anyway, you know, just hard fought, hard won stuff. I mean, they're also getting you to take responsibility and say, and in my case, a lot of relationships were like, well, yeah, you think this girl like tried to stab you with a kitchen knife literally tried to kill you and went psychotic and berserk and wrecked your entire house and screwed up a $90,000 car that that insurance won't cover. You think, that when you were so anxious to sleep with her, you knew that. You knew you met her in a psych facility. You knew you met her in a bar. You knew you met. It's like it's only your own fault. There's a story on that American Indian story I like a lot. It's an old woman found a snake in the snow, and she took it into her house and sat down by the fire, and it was frozen, stiff, and she warmed it up, and the snake warmed up, and it for a couple of years it just would slither all around her, and it was her best friend and everything. It was a poisonous snake, and she had healed it, nursed it back to life, saved its life, and brought it in. And one night they were sitting by the fire, and the snake was sitting on her lap, poisonous snake, and it bit her. And she said to the snake, "Well, why'd you do that?" And the snake looked at her and said, "Look, bitch, you knew I was a snake." I love that story. And really, what that's saying is, look, I know the kind of people I let in my life at the first place, and it's always my own fault. For sometimes you trust people and you go out on a limb, but sort of better. So yeah, I knew better with this girl. I knew it would explode in my face, and before it really got to that point, it's like really more than anything, and she deserves to know why. She's really, really needy. Really was reaching out with. And I reached right back out to her lovingly a lot, and had a lot of fun with her. Never, no more, like daily 3-4 emails, no more than a line each for months now. But she was just so needy that she became abusive to get more and more attention and stuff, and that's one of her character traits that isn't serving her well, and one of mine that doesn't serve me well is letting people, sometimes I'm better now, into my life that probably shouldn't be there in the first place. And so I take responsibility for that. So that is be that as it may, but it was really frustrating in my life. Sometimes people just cut me completely out, and I'd be like, well, why? She wrote me an email. It got to the point where it's like dozens of emails a day, and another thing, like a childhood relationship or a high school relationship, and one more thing, and I said, and he said, and I was like, you know what, I'm really busy, I don't need this. And I have never said one thing, abusive to you. And so anyway, I think, that she needs to know that, that's not the way to get, she has an eating disorder, that's not the way to get people's love, respect, and understanding, is to get abusive and demanding in order to sort of force love out of them or something. And they will be supportive, but all of these things really come down to, there's nobody, I couldn't save her. I knew that from the start, still can't. And it's, I've blocked her on every site, so it's like I don't have time to play little games anymore. And I came from a place of love, so my side of the street is clean. And the bottom line is, I knew when I let her in, but I decided to give her a chance. And anything that was any abuse, which was, I have a very low tolerance for bullshit, that I took was my own responsibility, my own fault. But yeah, it used to really bug me as to why. I love that. Look, bitch, you knew I was a snake.